What's up, guys? We are back with a brand new wave of Super 7 Ultimates, and we're taking a look at, arguably one of the most anticipated waves in quite some time. We're taking a look at Silverhawks Wave 1. Wave 2, obviously, has already come and gone, and I'm going to start with the leader. We're going to start with Quicksilver. So we've got him here in our standard Ultimate style packaging. The good guys get the actual silver slipcover. So he's got the silver slipcover with the Silverhawks logo there on the front. You've got the Silverhawks logo emblazoned on the back. Pop that slipcover off, of course, and you got your figure there in the window. You got his name and logo down there on the bottom. These boxes have sort of a Starfield patterning, which makes sense for this property, of course. And then the back gives us sort of a ghostly holographic image of Quicksilver, as well as a bio for our leader. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Super 7 Ultimates Quicksilver. The leader, the one we obviously should have gotten first, but as it turns out, we get him in, well, what is effectively Wave 2, right? Wave 1 became Wave 2, and this guy, without a doubt, as far as this line goes, has had the most controversy surrounding him. And all of that stems from when Super 7 took early samples to New York Comic Con. I guess it was last year. I don't even remember anymore. I wasn't there. I just saw the pictures like everybody else. I can safely say, with 100% certainty, this is not the same figure. It has been changed, and I think for the better. We'll get to why, but I think overwhelmingly this is a better looking figure. I do think that, say, Bluegrass or Steel will in particular, Steel will for sure, look better than Quicksilver. I think he suffers in the paint department on the face, but overwhelmingly this looks like a better figure than what we originally anticipated having gotten when those original samples were shown. So now that that's out of the way, let's see what this guy can do, see how he moves around. It's still a Silverhawks Ultimate. If you've gotten Wave 2, which was, of course, the first wave, you know exactly what to expect here. He moves basically the same as Bluegrass or Steel will. So we've got a head that can look up pretty decently. It's not as good as some of the others. Steel will in particular has much better range, but he's got a big fat noggin. He can look down a decent bit. You do have really nice tilt, full rotation. Arms out at the shoulders. We do still have the shoulder swapping, arm swapping gimmick going on with this guy because he has the same shoulder weapons. You've got swivel there, and if you pull on them too far, you are going to pop them out. They come out easy, but not like too easy, I guess is the best way to say it. Got a bicep swivel. We've got single jointed. They're about 90 degrees. And then you've got hinges, you've got rotation at those wrists. Normal stuff there. The torso is going to be my main sticking point on this guy because just like the others, he just has a twist. Like it's not an actual crunch. I'm still at the point where if it's not going to give us any crunch, it doesn't need to be there. I'd much rather it just be a single buck torso that had a ball peg waist, because right now this is just a diaphragm swivel. And then we've still got a waist twist. You don't need both. It should be one or the other and have a ball peg waist. Legs go out about that far. It's decent enough. They kick forward about that far. He's got that diaper thing, so it does get in the way a little bit. Not much kick backwards. You've got a thigh twist up there. We've got single jointed swiveling knees. Full 90 though, so that's nice. And then you've got a little hinge. That's pretty decent. And some rocker action down at those ankles. And they do sort of go in between the sort of stirrup thing that they have on their ankles, so you can sort of rock it well enough. I've not had any issues because of that. So he's fairly standard. There's nothing too surprising here. Once I got my hands on Bluegrass and Steel will, I knew exactly what the rest of them were going to be like. I still would like to see some changes implemented on these torsos. Those two cuts in tandem don't do anything to accentuate the other. It should be a diaphragm cut with a ball peg in there that has some movement, or just give me a ball peg waist that has some forward and backward and side to side. Now, as far as the overall look and feel on this guy, I think overwhelmingly, Quicksilver is pretty solid. I'm quite certain that some people are going to think, that I'm out of my mind here, because a lot of what we've seen up until now has shown us that we were not going to get the greatest figure. That original New York Comic Con production sample or pre-production sample figure, it didn't look great. The face was a mess, and it really set off alarms for a lot of folks. I do think Super 7 has gone back and dialed it back a little bit, corrected some things. It's not the same situation as Steel will, which is probably going to be the barometer for what is the best figure in this line as far as face goes. But this is so much better than what we originally saw. I think his colors look really good. He's very much in line with the other two that I've reviewed so far, so that would be Bluegrass and Steel will. So he does have some sheen. He's not chrome, he's not foiled out. but you get him under the lights and he is going to sparkle and shine. He's also more in line with the correct color, too. I still think that Steel Will is the wrong color. I think he is too blue versus being too gray, which is, he's supposed to be steel color. The names designate what they look like. Quicksilver is silver, and this is a shiny gray, which of course is basically what silver is in many ways. So I'm really happy with the way he turned out. I think proportionally he looks good. I think the sculpt is good. There is a lot of shading all over this guy too, like all over it. It's subtle. So it's all over but subtle, if that makes any sense. But it's where it needs to be. It's got it in the abs. He's got it around his armor plating. What little plating he does have on his body has some shading. It's in the thighs, and it's also on the back too. So he does have shading all over, and it's just enough to really make things pop a little bit more. He also comes with the aptly named control panel watch thing that controls Tallyhawk, because they got real creative with that name. So he has the little control panel watch. You can take it off. It's a separate piece. But I think a lot of folks are really going to hone in on the face, and maybe for the negative, but I think it's an improvement over what we had seen previously. It's not perfect by any means. Steel Will is going to set the tone for me as far as what it could have been, because he has photo printing. For some strange reason, he got photo printing and the others don't. I don't know if Steel Heart does yet. I haven't opened her as of this, but I think Quicksilver is a lot better than we had originally seen. He's not exactly there, and honestly, I think the biggest offending aspect of this face is the color. Not that there isn't paint, it's the color. He's too white, if that makes any sense. I think he's too pale. Maybe that's a better way to say it. There is some shading, and maybe if the shaded parts were the flesh tone that were used, he would look a little bit better, because he does have a slight tan, if that's the only way I can describe it in the show. He has a slight tan. He's not super white and pale, but he's also not dark-skinned either. He falls in the middle somewhere. But I know for sure that they did go back and they fixed the eyes, they fixed the eyebrows. He could probably stand to use a little hit of color on his lips too. Just something to bring them out. But otherwise, the sculpt is absolutely there. Undoubtedly, the sculpt is there, and the flesh tones on the face do match the flesh tones on the hand and the forearm really well. The partly real aspect of the arms. And the head sculpt overall, I think, is really good. The helmet aspect looks really good also. His crazy sort of robo hair thing going on. But I'm in general really, really happy with the way he turned out. I think the color looks good. The shine is good. It's very consistent across the other Hawks. Sizing looks good. Proportions look good. And the face is better, but it's not there. It could stand to be better. It's not as good as Bluegrass, and it's not as good as Steel Will, but it is definitely an improvement over what I think a lot of folks were expecting to get after those original New York Comic-Con images started circulating. And then for some size comparisons, let's start with other Silverhawks Ultimates. So we've got another Hawk here, Steel Will from Wave 2, the first wave. They match up okay. I remember him being taller, but I could be wrong. And of course, he is bulkier, which definitely fits. That works. And then we've got Monstar here on the right. And of course, he's going to be just overall bigger in every regard. Let's do a Thundercat. So here is the LJN Lion-O, and he matches up pretty decently. Let's do some unrelated lines. Let's do a Figuarts. And it was always going to be Turles. Let's move Lion-O aside. And let's do the Mez Conan for Mezco size comparison. And let's move Turles aside, and let's do a Mythic Legions. There is Atlas. And then one more. Let's do Marvel Legend. Here's a female Marvel Legend. There's Mystique. Of course, they're not even close to the same scale, so they don't match up, but it gives you an idea of what these are going to look like next to Hasbro stuff. But of course, the Silverhawks, the Ultimates, are going to work with pretty much anything 1/10, 7-inch scale. Now, as far as accessories goes, Quicksilver has a pretty solid spread. I would say that he has less than, say, Bluegrass and Steel Will, but it's all pretty substantial. I'm really happy with this spread. It's stuff that's all really useful. I could see a lot of folks using the majority of this stuff. To start with, we do get an extra head sculpt, and this is, of course, the visor down, battle mode for the Silverhawks. I think Quicksilver has unequivocally the coolest looking head sculpt when it comes to the visor. It just looks cool. That's really where I start and stop with it. Looks good. And it's really nicely done here as well. It's really sleek. I like the visor. It's got a very Mando kind of thing going on to it, so I like that. We, of course, get a buddy when it comes to Silverhawks, and Quicksilver has Tallyhawk. Quicksilver has the most important of the birds. And this one gets a little bit of extra treatment because Tallyhawk has articulation. The head rotates, and the legs move, and there's knees as well. Still manages to perch on the arm just fine also, and there's a lot of paint detail on this too. The chest is painted and the head is fully painted, and it's also got the same kind of finish as far as the silver goes that QUICKSILVER does. We of course get two versions, so you get one that is in flight. Head is different, so the mouth is open. Same kind of paint situation though, the underbelly and the head is painted, and you've also got that articulation, so the same stuff is here as well. Feet, knees, legs, whatever, and you've got that rotating, swiveling head. So I really do like that. They went a little bit extra on this one compared to the others, you know, Bluegrass and Steel Wheel, who just sort of have slug figures. We, of course, also get these swappable arm things. So this is the same situation that we saw with, you know, as far as reviews I've done with Steel Wheel. So you get the swappable arms that do not have articulation in the arm itself, but you do have swiveling shoulders. And the shoulders, again, just like with Steel Wheel, are swappable. So they can pop out. I will say that I'm seeing the same problem with this figure as I saw with Steel Wheel, in that the right arms, well, your left, the right arm on the figure, the shoulders are harder to pop out. And I've realized now that they're different peg types. So there's a different style of peg, like the tip of the peg on this arm compared to this one, and it's much more snug. So you might want to be just, you know, a little cautious and heat the right shoulder up when you go swapping parts. Maybe you won't need to, but I definitely feel the need to do it with my figure. And then we get some hands. Always got to have hands. He doesn't have as many hands as other figures do either. It's also kind of weird. So to start with, fists in the box, and then you get a set of gripping hands. You know, of course, you get one partly metal, one partly real. You get sort of open palm grippings, gesturing hands, one of each. And then you get one of each when it comes to flight hands or chopping hands, I suppose, if you wanted to use them like that, which work really well when you've got the actual wings out. That's the whole point of that hand, really. And then lastly, we do get the blast effects that come out of their shoulders. And I still think these are kind of weird. It's an odd power to manifest in an action figure just because of how they have to be pointed. But that is what they do. It's very screen accurate in the weirdest of ways. So you get two of those. Of course, one would go on the other side. And that's the whole point of having the swappable shoulders. So you can use the turrets, the guns, whether the wings are out or not, because they don't just get used when the wings are out. So he has a pretty solid spread. It's not as much as some of the others, but I'm pretty happy with what's here. There's a lot of stuff that I feel, again, that will just be really useful, and I like the fact that Tallyhawk gets a little bit of an extra treatment too. So yeah, overall, I'm really happy with the way QUICKSILVER turned out, but of course he's not without some criticism, right? The face is still not up to snuff if you compare it to the figures that we've already gotten. Bluegrass looks better, and of course Steel Will has face printing. They did fix this, I think, from what we had originally seen at New York Comic Con. This is definitely not the same quality of paint that we saw then. They did improve it. I think the finish looks good on the figure. The actual silver shines really well. I'm happy with the sculpt. I am still annoyed by some of these articulation choices though, specifically and really only that diaphragm cut. It either needs to be a single torso with a ball peg waist, or it needs to have a real diaphragm cut that allows bobble forward, backward, and side to side. He does, however, come with some really solid accessories. I'm happy to see Tallyhawk get a little bit of a special treatment with some articulation. I really like the extra head. You get some hands, and then of course we get the wings and we get the blast effects. So all around, I am really happy with the way he turned out, and I think we did get an improved figure. So that's going to do it for this look at the Super 7 Ultimates Silverhawks Wave 1 QUICKSILVER. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.